charge of the investors. Currently, the installed capacity is 12,000 megawatt in wind energy. The investment procedures, the permission procedures, we have completed them. We know how to do it. But now we have another procedure. As you know, the licenses are for 49 years in our country. And now it is time for their operation and energy trade. And in this carbon trade session, we will be covering these topics. In Turkey, this year, 324 terawatt-hour energy was generated, and 35 terawatt of this came from wind energy. This corresponds to 11%. And Mr. Ahmet Türkoğlu will give us further information about this. Our market size, market volume is around 2.5 to 3 billion US dollars. So this is not that an important volume, maybe. Today we will be talking about this. According to our energy plan, our target is to reach 380 terawatt hour in 2025 and 510 terawatt hours in 2035. And in 2028, wind energy investments, our target is 18,000 megawatt. So in solar, it will be around 30,000, and 2028 is a very near future. So in solar and wind energy, we plan to have 35% of the entire production. As you know, today in Turkey, there are some power plants that are outside YEKDEM. YEKDEM has 7,000 megawatts, 5,000 are outside YEKDEM, they have expired. And 4,000 out of 7,000 of YEKDEM, they received local incentives so they can sell at the rate of $7.3, but the remaining 3,000, it is still unknown. There's a question mark. The decision will be made this year. So in our panel, we will be discussing these topics, and we would like to learn from them. So in total, as we have explained in the invitation of this session, we know that we have to organize an electric market which is based on mainly the wind energy, but with the acceptance of the applications for solar energy. This is my 15th year, by the way, in this. Now, it is not about production, but it is about the prices at which we can sell the electricity we produce. So this is going to be a decisive element for the investments. So today we will be listening to our speakers. Actually, this session we try to make it traditional. EPİAŞ is actually a very popular company, and it has the operation license. And Ahmet Türkoğlu is the Director General of Energy Markets Operation Company, EPİAŞ. You have the floor, Ahmet Bey. We will be listening to you. Thank you, Mr. Kısa. I have prepared a short presentation. I would like to go through it, and after that we can do Q&A. As Mr. Kısa already said, EPH is an important company for energy markets. If I were an investor, I would really felt assured that there is a company like EPH, because on daily basis 1 billion Turkish lira is charged and collected every day. So definitely in trade you need to find the customer and then you need to collect the fees from the customer. But this is not the case for energy market. If you have made your investment properly, then you can collect your money easily, and EPH plays an important role in this. And as EPH, we always look for innovations in order to make more contribution. Before I start, I would like to give you the general picture. Turkey is a developing market, so are its markets. Our needs are increasing, our production also increases. I would like to show them to you visually as well. Probably you have seen these tables before. Whenever we make this presentation, we put these graphs on the screen, but with the updated figures. For example, if I were to make this presentation tomorrow, I would put more updated data on it. What is good for us is that the portfolio for renewable energy has increased its share within the capacity. Every day, the colors, the number of the colors represented here increases, and it represents that we have different renewable energy sources. As investors, yes, we earn money out of it, but the world needs this. We are trying to find new ways to pollute less and to generate more clean energy. And we look at the renewable energy portfolio. We rank the 5th in Europe in renewable energy. We rank the 6th in wind, and we rank the 12th in the world. We already know about water, and there is no capacity increase in that. But in wind and solar, the capacity ever increases. And we should also take into consideration biomass and geothermal. We also have a share in geothermal energy. A couple of years ago, it was less than 1, but now it is more than 3 to 4%, and it's really important for our future, and it's an important resource. So the installed capacity, YEKDEM incentives, the percentage of the renewables, the installed capacity increases, and the installed capacity for the renewable also increases. And the decrease increases. And nowadays, there are lots of applications regarding the storage of the energy, and it's going to change the picture, and it seems that we will be standing on our own feet. In EPH, we frequently talk about the carbon markets, which is also the theme for today. Last month, the president of our republic made an announcement. A trade center would be established in Ataşehir Finance Hub, and also it was announced that EPH would be moved to the finance hub as well. We have a couple of more markets, but Mr. Minister has not announced them yet. Now we have prepared a draft climate act, and now we expect it to be adopted by the parliament. Also, the environmental ministry is conducting some studies in order to reduce carbon emission. And our market is also going to be integrated with Europe. With EEX, we are also negotiating in terms of taxation and certification. We would like to, and we plan to have a better relationship. When we look at the scope defined by our Ministry of Environment, approximately 133 companies seem to be able to do the trade, and they will be doing the trade around 500 tons of CO2, and they are the companies that do carbon emission. And there are also lots of other industries like iron and steel, which emit less carbon. They cannot use this scope, but I believe the scope will be extended. So you talk about ETS, Emission Trade System, announced by the minister, right? Yes, it is. Yes, we are talking about the operation of this ETS, both in English and in Turkish. The abbreviation is ETS. Let me talk about the calendar, the timetable for this. As of the 1st of October 2023, the companies importing from Europe, it can be Turkey, it can be China. Now the countries have started to measure and document this, and it will be continuing like this. Yes, they do not pay carbon border tax, but they just do the calculation as if they were to pay this tax. So without any financial liability, the system has started to operate. So we need to be ready by the 1st of January 2026. So what problems will we have as of the 1st of January 2026? It seems that Russia will be affected most. However, their gas export to Europe has decreased a lot. So other than Russia, China, Turkey, the United Kingdom, they seem to be affected. The industrial companies selling products to Europe from these countries will receive this impact. We will have primary and secondary carbon markets. So in the primary market, it will be like a stock exchange, and the secondary market will be reselling. So those who buy it can sell it back or sell it forward. We also have green certification. Green certification is different, a little bit different, and I've just made a benchmarking here. YEC-G. Here we do document the energy we generate out of renewable energy sources, wind, hydro, solar. In these certificates, it is written. So the user in the household, in the factory, in the office will demand the very source he or she wants to use the energy. So it's like 1 lira per 1 megawatt. Even though it is 2 liras per 1 megawatt, it is insignificant. So any person be it a legal person or a real person, can demand electricity from renewable energy. This is also good for social responsibility. And under Scope 2, this would also be considered. But European Union announced recently that it will ask only for carbon certificates. So it's a voluntary market. And the revenue made here will be given to the companies generating electricity out of renewable energy. In addition to YEK-G, and in European Union it is called GEO, and there are also carbon credits. Maybe Ms. Sıla Duran will be talking about this in detail, but the carbon credits will be given to renewable companies. According to the existing regulation, these two certificates will not be relevant, but they are voluntary. But the other certificates will be mandatory, because if you are importing, either you will make use of this certificate or you will pay tax. Per ton, the cost of the carbon certificate is around 80 euros in Europe, and we will make it 50 euros for us. So there is a 30 euro difference, and that 30 euros will be paid as a tax. Actually, every day it's getting complicated more and more. Digitalization brings about facilitation, but we just buy, we sell, we consume, they are all together. And within this complicated picture, where are we going? In these two final slides, I would like to talk about this. We like renewable, and the world likes renewable, and they want it to increase. And European Union has a crush with it, actually. Even it's not a love, it's more than that. European Union wants to get rid of gas. Even under normal conditions, normal circumstances, European Union was phasing out coal, but now, rather than having gradual phasing out, now they are making it very strictly because of the war in Ukraine. So as the volume of renewable increases, in the merit order, more renewables can be sold, because its input is water, wind, or sun. We don't pay anything for that. Therefore, the cost is low, as you see in the orange one here. But currently, the demand is beyond the supply, so we need to go for more expensive sources. Actually, the most expensive source was fuel oil, which is not used now. After that, it is natural gas. In our pre-day and day market, and actually our installment market is not that much active, but what determines the cost is the cost of natural gas. So, as long as we have the supply for renewable energy, we use it until it is not enough. And after that, we go to natural gas. Actually, we were supposed to be phasing out natural gas, actually, but now we have just kicked it out very strictly. Actually, the resources or the sources which we would get rid of will be more expensive. So currently the cost is around 2,500 euros, and if it is higher than that, the natural gas generating electricity plants, power plants, did not want it. Probably, maybe we need to go more positively discriminative in terms of wind. You know, 3,500 euros will not be enough even for the soul. Are we going to go for an energy mix which is more dirty and more expensive, or are we going to go for an energy mix which is green and good for our future? This is our preference, and we need to invest for this, but we should also consume it. Maybe everyone here is invested, but this is our responsibility. We are also giving wind certificate. So we should go for the green tariff. We should go for the green tariff. Thank you very much for all this information. Those who are already involved in this already know this. Actually, there is a head spinning speed in these developments. We are talking about the operators here, but in wind energy, wind power plants, all this electricity we generate, if we have to sell it by ourselves, then we need to create a trade team. These are big volumes, and it is a challenge to find the customers. We work with the collectors, and one of them is AXA. And Mr. Murat Kirazlı will make a summary. How many of the participants here are interested in energy trade? Can you raise your hands? So directly or indirectly? Maybe it will be a good base for you regarding the technical details. And maybe you can talk about the size of your group. How was the last year in electricity trade market? Were there opportunities? Were there chances? Can you give us some information about this? Thank you.
Selamlıyorum. Ahmet Bey de güzel sunum için teşekkür
Well, thank you very much, Ahmet. Thank you so much for this nice presentation. It's going to be a challenge speaking after him. Well, maybe I'd like to give you this retrospective look at what we have done. Initial installed power, maybe till 2016 in the wind energy market, was focused on operational costs. Well, actually, the trade of energy, sales, and management and the balance of it due to the regulation didn't matter at that time. There was a really nice structured renewable energy code, and thanks to YEKDEM mechanism, we had the investment period. Especially this process of investment in the first 5 years, there were subventions and incentive supports, and they gave us a good enhancement. We didn't look for anything in the market. So what happened afterwards? These power plants were integrated to the market. They assumed some responsibilities, liabilities for the balancing, and they also had to obey some regulations like in other power plants. And we started to see this, and in Ahmet's presentation we saw it. When it comes to the merit order in the price calculation, wind power plants had a huge contribution, and in some years this contribution increased. So this is this reverse portion, like wind was not supporting the wind because high wind yielded in a low wind profit, and in the conditions of the market with bilateral agreements, those risks were tried to be given to some sides. So in the last 2 years, thanks to bilateral agreements, markets investors had some challenges because there were changes in the regulations, and also there came the price reconciliation, and some different issues to manage occurred. But from the market side, I could say this. Last year, for instance, with more concrete numbers, last year, approximately 4,000 megawatts wind power plant without local contribution had a chance to sell it to YEC with $73. But how much of them entered into market? Well, roughly speaking, 20% of these power plants, in quotation marks, maybe this is not a good metaphor, but they took the risk and entered to the market. In 2023, approximately 750 megawatts of installed power came to the market, or else they just intervened in the market by taking the risk of the price. It was a complicated year. So what about the result? Let's have a look at the result based on some information. These power plants reached up to $97, while in the markets we saw $73 were pushed, but Yekdam was around $73, $75 in the renewable energy power plants sales. Of course, from one power plant to another power plant, there might be some changes. You might say it is 70, it is 60 or 80. So these are some average numbers. These are some general figures. This year, at the end of this year, as of September 30th, just left us, and it still has a place in the law. This comprises a risk for the upcoming periods. Maybe in the next minutes we can talk about what we need to do for future. But in 2024, you are going to have a similar dilemma in power plants. So there's going to be an additional 1,000 megawatt power plant without YEKDAM, and there are some power plants having YEKDAM, right? But they will be in between YEKDAM or $73 again. So we see something here. Market players will be in the market with bilateral agreements. They have to apart to bilateral agreements because at this current situation, Ahmet has identified this very well. When you have a look at ETS or else carbon market from the gas perspective, there seems to be a really negative picture. But on the wind market, there are positivities. We can go over the YEKDAM prices because on the thermal sources, this price could be reflected on the spot market conditions. So slowly but surely, YEKDAM shield will be left and free market will be chosen, especially in the wind sector. We're going to see this change. When we have a look at the last 5 years, wind energy's electricity generation profile is less precious than the base electricity load. Yes, in some power plants, we've seen differences. Maybe in summertime, we've reached higher wind conditions, but 11,000, 12,000 megawatts power decreased the price. For that reason, the price of this energy has changed in years, and it has become less precious than the market's price. But as we see with more dominance of solar, maybe this is something positive for solar, negative for wind. Profile value of solar seems to be more negative than wind, since the pattern is the same. In the same hours of the day, energy generation increases, while actually wind has become a more valuable energy source. In the past, we used to deem it as not valued. So even in the nighttime, we can see higher priced hours. Wind is irregular, so it makes it much more valuable. In the upcoming 5 years, the energy value of the wind could be even higher than spot market's value, so it can be a positive idea. Well, we can state it in this way. Thank you very much. Well, all in all, we can get use of it, and investors up until this time have invested 14 billion euros on this sector. 5,000 out Yekta, 3,000 indecisive will decide some things in the future. Well, 3,000 wind power plant, $73 Yekta price. Are they going to choose this way to sell, or else are they going to have their bilateral agreements? Ahmet Bey already wants to have more enhanced bilateral agreements. Markets as a PH, this is not a problem. If you wish, we can have a survey here. So which one would you choose? Yektem? Would you sell your power plant to Yektem? Or else would you wait for the upcoming years electricity prices? It's around $75, $76. Well, in the upcoming year, it will be higher. We don't know. What will be your decision? Let's vote for. Who says $73 Yektem? Who says I'll take risk? $73 Yektem. Who goes for Yektem? Let's see the others. Okay. So, yeah, it seems that the others that might take a risk is higher. Well, I don't want to direct you, but actually, electricity without off is $100. Well, $73 is after off. Well, for $73, some of our participants have their hands. I've seen two people. Well, we need to say this to the market. This is a commercial decision. We have to tell this. And there is two or three main components of this issue. But let me tell you the most crucial things. I don't want to steal from other speakers' time. Firstly, unfortunately, the off is still in our law. Maybe with respect to this, our bureaucratics and regulatory authority could define some exceptions, because off risk could be eliminated with Yektam. Well, this is very important since you are a head of the Electricity Businessmen Association. Well, off is still permanent. Let's say it is difficult to take it out. What is your recommendation? Well, like PTF multiplies with $300. Well, if that's the case, what would be the price? What would you say? Well, actually, we have to state based on the conditions. If you ask me what is the more expensive electricity, if you had asked me 2 years ago, I would have said $100 was a good number. But if you had asked me last year, I would have said $150 was a little bit expensive. So it is really conjunctural based on the conditions, what would be expensive for the consumers. It is really difficult to define, but we could understand this bilateral agreements for the exemptions of these agreements could be defined very well above than very well prior to the real market entrance. Well, 3 years ago or 5 years ago, maybe we could have discussed in a different way, but today would have this, since Turkey is moving towards to become a gas hub. Well, while we give these decisions, we should be looking at the conditions of the market. Investors are going to have a look at these, but we have to look at the gas market in the vicinity of our geography, because the future signals of this sector is very crucial for our sector's future, because we are very much aligned with the European countries' conditions. We shouldn't leave these conditions out when we evaluate 2024 expectations. Okay, softwares. So now we can take swift decisions. We can save time and we can give orders. We can make assignments, and APH programs and systems are very much integrated to other systems. And maybe we could ask Önder about the electricity reconciliation regulation, and this is defined as a pH of 0, but there are new updates in this regulation. So specific to wind energy, what could be the effects of this integration over our sector, and how did you carry out this integration, and what can you say? How are you going to be integrated to the system? What can you say for the investors? Well, thank you so much. Hello, everyone. As Smart Pulse, We are involved in the ecosystem, however, we are located at a different side, technological side of the sector. So I'll be talking about commercial operations on a daily basis, a little bit different from Murat Bey's and Ahmet Bey's strategical perspectives. Well, without daily operations, other operations can't be conducted. Thank you so much. As you all know, EPH has very recently updated its per day software. It has made a big attempt, and there's been a new update on the regulation. And we've analyzed the effects of the update over the market. We've made our own update as well. As Smart Pulse, we are a software company, and this service is not limited to Turkey, but we give it to other countries in Europe. In this way, we have a chance to define and know other electricity markets, and we have a chance to be integrated to other markets on the regulation and technology-wise. I'd like to thank EPH family. They've given us a big pride. Thank you so much. I mean, this is my sincere feelings, because in almost all countries that I have mentioned, there is a readily made infrastructure, but in Turkey, there is a software which has been developed by EPH's own developers and will be updating it to 2.0. So as Smart Pulse, what do? We integrate our works to EPH's infrastructure, starting from wind, renewable energy power plants. They are given a commercial automation means, as Erinç has already stated. As you all know, this has become a trend in all countries. I don't want to say this is mandatory, but digital transformation in this area has become a standard, right? So rather than making something manually, doing it automatically on the commercial side has become a sector standard. So we are a pioneer company exerting efforts in this respect. Well, in the regulation, there are some novelties. I'd like to talk about them. I've summarized them under 6 titles. So, offer matching rate. This has been current in many markets, but this was not available in Turkey. So, as you all know, during the commerce activities of boats in the market, within 50 milliseconds, offers, proposals are updated, and it gives an abnormal, uncontrollable load to the systems. And this was given a solution which is similar to your other countries. So a participant can update its offer in order not to exhaust the system, but to really make touch-ups on his offer. So there is a requirement for one offer, one match for 1,000 offers. In order for system to react swiftly, I think this is a really positive change. But what's going to happen in our lives, in our customers' lives? Rather than limitlessly updating our offers, it's going to be in a much more controlled way, which could be really decent for the trade activities. Well, the second one is about I couldn't see intervals for the proposals. Well, let me check the title because I couldn't read it. Well, this is the interval for the time to offer. In the other countries, there was this issue. So millions of demands were sent to APS systems in many seconds, and systems were not tolerant to this load. In order to prevent this problem, certain intervals are allocated, but the traders are not going to be affected by this. This is rather technical, that's why I'll skip this very fast. I don't think that it's going to affect our lives because, I mean, for a person to understand and take an action, it takes 200 seconds, so there's no need to discuss the details further. So this is the steps for price. 1 cent is going to be updated to higher numbers. Updating of the offer will require less steps, and I believe it's going to increase the motivation. Again, in foreign countries, there's been new offer types, and it's going to be available in Turkey, and it will add more contribution. Let's say there's a breakout failure in a big power plant, rather than leaving 500 megawatt to the market, there will be iceberg-like structures and gradual decrease of the system will be available. And I think this is the most influential component of these changes, because the others were a little bit technical and they're not very much influential on the trade. Well, there is this hourly trade, and there is also the block type market. So a block type is rather related to groups that are related to balance. It is about the balancing activities. With the elimination of block contracts, these power plants will be on the hourly table. So what about the balancing prices? Are they going to increase? Well, this is not an unjust expectation. It is possible to have an increase on the balancing price. It's not going to decrease, because in the balancing agreement there were certain prices, so you are saying that we should forget about them. No, I'm not talking about a major change, but I believe there will be some changes, so it should be analyzed well. How much is it going to increase? Well, it's very volatile. I don't want to provocate or direct anyone. And as Murat has mentioned, from power plant to another power plant, there might be some variations. However, generally speaking,
Bu blok kontrat
The on the clock board, we expect an increase in the volume. Maybe this increased volume can deteriorate the price signal. Why was it lifted? Is it something bad? Of course, it is not good to distort the price signal, but it is within the probabilities. We will experience and see it. Normally, within the group which is responsible for the balance, these transactions will not be conducted, and the plans will not be able to be updated as comfortably as it used to be. Actually, we have a study on this in order to ensure that our clients are affected at the minimum, and we have a very intensive R&D process as well. Maybe the participants are not affected highly, but we are. Probably, though minor, there will be an increase in the price. So every year we made an agreement to be within this group, and in line with the information you have provided, this needs to be taken into consideration about the pricing. Yes, thank you. Thank you for the information. Not just because we are in this session, but a wind power plant, whichever it is. We are talking about commercial companies, and the ultimate goal is to sell electricity at the best price, because these are the power plants that mean profitability. So we are talking about at which prices we can sell it. So the goal of other sessions can be the investments, but the main reason, the ultimate goal, is to understand which prices we can implement when selling this electricity. We are here to understand this. And what is the main motivation of the investments? These are commercial investments, and to make money, to earn money, to do trade. Therefore, we need to understand this, and we need to be cognizant of this. Another topic, differently from electricity trade, as you know, we have goals for the year 2023, carbon neutral, carbon neutral goal we have. Ahmet Bey talked about this, and Mustafa Bey talked about this in the morning. So the targets, the goals are just to get rid of gas and to to do something about the regulations, adjustments, and carbon border. I would like to go to Sıla Duran, and I don't want her to be humble. Since 2009, they have been dealing with carbon certificates, so she is quite an expert on this. No need to be humble, no need to be modest. And I also would like to thank her because she came here rather than going to Munich to see Bayern Munich Galatasaray Champions League match, because she's a fan, I know. Yes, Sıla, you're working in this field and you are giving direction to the company. So the gold standards have expired and you have felt the need to channelize them to new mechanisms. And this year, the carbon border adjustment became operational. How is it going to operate? And also the impact of the national ETS on this sector, which will be in the future. Thank you, Erinç Bey, for your nice words, for your kind words. We talk about carbon market, emission trade mechanisms, but for the last 16 years, 17 years, we have stakeholders in the sector, though it is voluntary, and you are also experienced in this. We need to tell that the voluntary carbon market is a real incentive mechanism for renewable energy investments. When we look at the prices between 2008 and 2013, there was a significant transaction volume with a certain value. But after that, the supply was higher, and then the belief in carbon markets just started to fade away. An economic crisis came, so these carbon mitigation projects did not receive the interest it deserved. However, after some time, the transactions started to increase and the values started to be high, and the main factor here is the belief in the Paris Climate Agreement. All parties ratified it, and long-term projecting companies, they are not announcing 5 to 10-year projects, but now they are rather making contribution in carbon reduction, emission reduction projects, especially here. Starting from 2019 and especially in 2020 and 21, there has been a significant increase in the market volume. The prices used to be less than $1 per ton. However, it increased as high as $3 to $4 per ton. And what was the leading factor? It was afforestation, land usage. I mean, the projects that do not emit carbon. So these kind of projects were increasing in volume. However, starting after 2021, and especially after the Russian-Ukrainian conflict started in February 2022, we have started to see a slowdown in the market, and there was a reduction in the market prices. The economic crisis, the energy crisis, inflation concerns, and the supply increased significantly. After that bad time in 2012, 2013, many projects were withdrawn from the market and they have been reintroduced into the market. So the supply increased, but the demand did not increase. Then currently, the market is vivid. 2023 was a little bit stable. However, there will be a COP in Dubai next month, and after that I believe there is going to be an increase in the market as well, especially in response to your second question, the carbon projects, how should they act in this market? They need to be following international regulations. And I also would like to emphasize the position of Turkey. Currently, the renewable energy sector still continues to have transactions in the markets with the supports. However, the standards preferred by international buyers uh, actually they no longer accept our projects because they consider Turkey as a developed country, not a developing country anymore. They only accept biogas or biomass projects, and of course maybe the offshore projects will be accepted. So carbon mitigation technology, they need to be supported, but only the new technologies will be supported, and new standards are being announced. 37 standards. There are also regional standards, mandatory standards, Global Carbon Council based in Qatar, or Carbon in South America. They are issuing different standards, but what we need to note here, the wind power plants, even though they are accepted, will they have a reaction in the market? Will there be any buyer for them? Or the wind power plants that have been promoted, will they have the rights in their hands? Are they going to be holding their rights? This year, April, Turkey updated the national contribution declaration, and we have made an announcement regarding the decrease in increase. And we have explained how it is going to be conducted. And the renewable energy mechanism is a part of this. So, how are we going to use these certificates if we are going to put them in this framework? And I would like to come back to the voluntary scheme. Currently, there are some power plants and projects that are registered. They need to differentiate because it is now the buyer's market. In 2021, it was a peak in the market, and now it is the buyer's market, and therefore you need to satisfy the buyer. United Nations declared SDGs back in 2016, and projects that are providing additional support to SDGs are preferred now. In Europe, the wholesalers or the brokers, these credits are now emitted to them, but in the end, at the end of the day, they go to the end user, both in domestic and international market. If we have a target of corporate clients, under which goals are they going to position themselves? This is going to be the basis of our monitoring plans. In the new carbon order, as I've already said, COP28 to be held in Dubai next month. UN Conference of Parties. So we need to be following it. Of course, there will not be a concrete solution out of there, but we need to look at the messages given. What do we need to expect? Actually, we expect, or we hope, that the countries act in line with each other. But in these conferences, there is not any concrete product. We only had it in Paris. But however, now we are heading for a global carbon market, and there needs to be national allocations that need to be recognized by the countries. So this can be an output. It is actually relevant to our new investments because electricity sales revenue, we put it there. Actually, rather than the renewable side, the polluters should also be the focus. Currently, the price should be capped at $2 to $3, but what we need to do in order to accelerate the market, it's not the price, the volume of the transactions. The transactions should continue. If the transaction stops, this creates a danger. We have talked about Turkey's position regarding climate change, and the net zero goals of Turkey gives this message. We are following the path of the European Union. A big part of our export and our trade is in line with European Union. But what is good here is net zero target. It's not a unilateral target from the Americas to Asian countries. They have all announced it, and Turkey has the goals of net zero by 2053. And here, the carbon border adjustment mechanism, I would like to talk about this. Because of the European Union Green Deal declared in December 2019, the Green Deal matters for us. European Union declared that by 2030, compared to the emission levels in 1990s, the reduction target is 55%. And this is not limited to energy sector or the industry. It covers the entire society, including each and every behavior of the society. We talk about the plastics, we talk about the chemistry industry, and they are going to have problems when they are cleared from the customs. It's a collective or a total change of the economy. And with the Climate Act, European Union created a binding regulation. European Union for years was presenting many targets like European Green Deal, but this is now an act. And as Ahmet Bey already said, by 2026, it is a reality which all the industries need to face. And also, within this 55% package, we have six sectors, and emission. Our fossil fuel power plants will need to face, because of our emission trade system, what our industry will face will not be because of their electricity production, because of their processes in their facilities, the fuels they use when burning. So 2023 to 25 transition period, and 2026 it's going to be reflected on the prices. As an example, the allocation fees you can see on the screen, 80 to 95 euros the cost. So the carbon border adjustment mechanism is now extending transboundarily. So this system which we will establish here is a mechanism to retain the economy in our country rather than it leaves our country. And also it has an impact on electricity market. We are conducting transboundary electricity trade. We export to Bulgaria or Greece. So there is also another fee in addition to the capacity. So we need to be following the prices here, and we need to do the optimization. This is also important. This is all from my side. Thank you very much. We need to continue a little bit fast. I'm not so accustomed to using this microphone, but Ahmet Bey, we received the message from Murat Bey. I believe we need to do bilateral agreements in the industry. Actually, in my own company, we have been doing this bilateral agreement since 2019, but it was only for 1 year. How can we make it for multiple years? You are experienced in this sector, of course. EPH is the operating company, but you are experienced in the market. So, what can you say? What kind of promotions can there be for those who want to engage into bilateral agreements? Don't you want it, actually? Probably you also dream that some of this work is based on bilateral agreements. Actually, this is the theory. We need to be needed at the minimum, so the market should run on bilateral agreements. If there is a space which is not covered by bilateral agreements, it should be in our term market, then pre-day market and day market. So this is the path that needs to be followed under normal circumstances. We are too big, actually, and we are the third largest stock exchange in Europe, and our spot volume is too big. Actually, our term transactions should be higher. Let's not ask this question. Let's not ask it about extension it to multiple years. First, we need to concentrate on making 1 year agreement. Let's solve the problem and make 1 year bilateral. If you do it 1 year, it is risk management. You need to hedge the risks. You have the currency risk in Turkey in the term market. Yeah, they don't want to hedge the risk because it has a cost. Personally, I do this lobbying. Currently, we need gas to conduct the term market. If we can do it with gas, we can do it with electricity. So, the contracts, the bilateral contracts for 1 year in gas, if you have it, definitely you have another one, which is for the electricity. So with bilateral agreement, we want to sell it for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. What do you recommend? We just say that trust in us. Yeah, our most important asset is PTF indexes. Do it with PTF. We have a PTF which gives price signal. Okay, there are many things going around it, but everyone trusts in it. And there is such a huge transaction volume. If we can do the sales like 1 billion or 2 billion Turkish lira on daily basis, the market sees it as a signal of the price. So maybe we can index the price to this one. This is more ideal. But more ideally, the term markets. If term markets operate, we are talking about PTF, but then I will say that you need to take as the basis our term prices. When we do it with the real market prices, then we will say that take it as the basis for your bilateral agreement. So 1 year is more ideal than having it longer term. And I also would like to thank Önder Bey for the superlatives he used for our technology infrastructure. We are a stock exchange, but most of the time people don't know about our digitality. But we are a digital company. But the most challenging companies for us is the companies that contemplate on the market, like the company of Önder Bey, and they are producing software. They are pushing us actually. They are pushing us to innovate, and also they contribute to the marketplace. If there are algorithms that are doing matching in milliseconds, then we owe it to the companies that are really pushing us. Thank you.
İkili anlaşmalarla ilgili
Murat Bey, what are your opinions about bilateral agreements? What can we do, and what ahead of us? So we don't want to actually make bilateral agreements each and every year. What should we do? Well, Ahmet Bey mentioned that he's a really trustworthy person, but we will not have any money, but we can't trust PTF. Even if we trust PTF, banks will not trust PTF because we are the shareholders of APH, and their project is really successful. I sincerely believe in this, but the price issue is really critical. Without further ado, I'd like to say this. Turkish consumption, the ones that we received, is around 250 kilowatts hour. Well, more than 2% of this will not be fixed price, and 2% is about optimism, actually. From the optimistic perspective, we could say it is 2%. And in Europe, this is what we see. It's like all energy goes to EPH, and all energy comes out of EPH. Well, it could be just the opposite of what has been mentioned. And all our customers, which are not on the regulated way, works on PTF, and customers were impacted. Normally, consumers buying electricity with 20 cents would like to make a hedge and hedge the agreement, but in Turkish case it requires a status analysis. Currently it is based on PTF index. Even the biggest organized industrialists, if it is 10 cents, 10 cents, 20, 20. Well, here there are some structural reasons. Firstly, there is, especially in Turkey, there is not players more than 10. Actually, 10 is very optimistic. There is 2 or 3 players buying electricity from renewable energy. Bilateral agreements have 2 sides, and both sides are not settled. First year is really crucial. While gas is a very important factor, all the evaluations should involve gas, because there are gas contracts based on deposits, and this is the most optimistic expectation. If it is not available, price-based, cost-based pricing will be the case, and we will be following indexes like European countries do. And I'd like to add another thing. In the unlicensed electricity power plants, investors, consumers, and contractors, there are a lot of stakeholders. But we don't have any examples to our regulation. Even Turkish subsidies of European companies don't carry out corporate KPI in Turkey. From Bulgaria to Germany, from Spain to Portugal, wherever you go in Europe, projects close their PPE before financing. Yes, we are actually dreaming of this. In order for us to have this, licensed electricity generation and these projects, when they compete, corporate PPE should have advantages. There's 5,000 H unlicensed power plants should have some advantages, because self-consumption can only happen in the same connection place. If you go further away, if you have another power plant, we could say that this is not a licensed one. It is not distributed generation. This is not a very well distributed one. 200 kilowatt, when you do it in 1,000 kilometer away, it is not feasible. For a project which has not been prepared yet, for it to sell its energy, consumers should see these advantages. In Turkey, there are big telecom operators. They do PPA in Europe, but they don't have PPA in Turkey. They say unlicensed is much more appealing in Turkey. But we want this from EPH. Ahmet Bey has already answered these questions. Well, they said there is no hindrance for you to do it over a year. Theoretically speaking, yeah, you can undersign these agreements. It is free, but then managing this will be really challenging for both sides. Thank you so much. Thank you. Önder Bey, in the last round, what would you like to say? So batteries, sorry, uh, what happened? Batteries, is it something about presentation? Okay, before talking about presentation, their effect on the electricity trade. What do you expect? Well,
Tamamen değiştiğini düşünüyorum.
I think the paradigm has changed
Döneminde.
with electricity storage. Consumers and producers will be consumers. Well, it depends on the location of the battery because there are a lot of battery scenarios, residential scenarios, etc. But if you think in this way, I think batteries, so when these markets come, paradigm changed. Well, in the past there were no real instruments. When the per day market became available, paradigms changed for the daily activities of the trade. It happened in this way. In the last 5 to 6 years, like Ahmet Bey has mentioned, even though PTF became dominant, but the daily market became main markets in many places, intraday markets. Maybe it could be very well related to your question, so we don't have time. Okay, I'll try to be as quick as possible. So in order to have this relation, we made this analysis. This is showing the 4 biggest wind power plant. These are from EPH Transparency Platform. And as you see, their estimated and actualized production, we calculated them monthly. As you see, this is very specific. This shows the biggest power plant of Turkey. This is one of the 4 biggest power plants of Turkey in wind. In the last 5 years, there was no significant change in its performance. 5 years ago, it was worse, and now it is good. No, we can't say this. This is second, this is the third, this is the fourth, this is the fifth power plant. So they have their significant performance level, but there was no increase on the performance. Well, all in all, specific to wind, as Murat has mentioned, there is hourly volatility of wind different than the solar. That's why they have some advantages. So batteries are really important in the management of wind volatility. And when we have batteries, paradigm will change again. For the first time, facilities will be consumers and producers at the same time. So you could sell some things and you could resell to the market, and it would be again done per milliseconds. Maybe you could decide 24 hours and you could decide according to your knowledge. When the batteries are available, digitalization will be mandatory and it will be more standardized. Companies should make investment and they should raise awareness. And they should make investment and they should carry on their pricing. This is very crucial. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you. Murat Bey, would you like to make some additions? Well, actually, Önder Bey has emphasized this for the renewable energy management. In the electricity prices for the capacity to be deployed for 2028, 5,000 megawatt is the newly announced project. However, when we have a look at the pre-license, we're talking about 25, 30 megawatts. When all these investments are deployed, we are going to see almost flat electricity generation. What about minus prices? No, it's just contrary. It will prevent minus, but there's not going to be a difference. 10,000 megawatt battery will be more than enough to flatten the electricity graph. So we will see a totally different world. Sıla, let me come back to you again. All the new projects are about electricity storage. They were given with this condition, and I'm assuming that you have already seen this. There is also non-licensed part of it. ETS and carbon processes about new investments, what to think, how to carry on. Well, specific to ETS, well, actually, there is this optimization. I believe it is really crucial, and renewable energy power plants, how to locate them. This is also very crucial because as of this moment, where they are to be operated, storage will bring advantages, but along with this, new technologies, when they are proved to decrease emissions, new carbon projects will be paved further. Yeah. Would you like to add something, Ahmet Bey, about storage? Well, about storage, it seems to be really fine. We've been together with Tayyar's general manager. When I asked him, he didn't mention storage very well. It brings many problems with itself as these capacities are installed. I believe it's going to be great for our country. I don't know what will happen to prices. Yeah, they're not going to be decreased, they will increase. But how is it going to happen? Well, regulation of it has been made ready, but I'm not knowledgeable about the details. So all in all, when it comes to frequency, there are some problems. Not everything seems to be perfect when it comes to storage, but it is nice to have it, of course. And the time to store, if it increases, it will be better. And we'll see it after practice. Their effects over the electricity prices, I believe it's going to increase the average price. What about because of the cost of the operation investment? Okay, I understand. Okay, it's interesting. Well, now we could still discuss hours and hours, but next session will start at 4:50, and I'll go back to the room because we have some time. So the mic is ready. If you want to ask a question, because it is not always possible to bring these valuable people together. Do you have a question about bilateral agreements or commercial operations? We've already listened to our guests' future expectations. We have Sıla. Well, actually, anyone can answer. Ahmet Bey, Murat Bey, you could answer. About the stored energy, when the storage means are available, how the site services are going to be affected, their volume and their price? Are they going to increase or decrease? What are your comments? There are some expectations with respect to site services. Some expect to have some revenue out of the site services, but they are not sure. Do you have an idea? Do you have a recommendation? Since I don't work in this area, I don't want to make a comment. I think Murat can answer this well than me. Well, current storage, wind and solar energy facilities, if there's going to be a freedom to serve the services to the market, marginal price will be zero. When it's on circulation, I believe there's going to be a loss, but the consumed energy will be very low, so it will be a disruptive effect. So PFK comes from coal generally. The pricing is based on this. It is not pre-day market, but let me give you the positive perspective as well. In Europe, there are different examples of this. We have some consultants with us. They have already worked in these issues, and we know this. Batteries can react more swiftly. Fast frequency reserve could be defined. It could be downwards and upwards balancing services, and when these batteries are settled in our lives,
Doğrudan primer frekans kontrolde atalet de yani aslında dönen erişimi sağlanan rezervi tamamen
the idle reserve will not be finished. So in the upcoming 2 to 3 years, I believe the answer of this question will be revealed. In addition to what Murat has mentioned, we made a really comprehensive analysis, and currently TEİAŞ has presented some criteria. And if you apply this criteria in PFAK, you will be really advantageous, because just all alone, just by itself, if there is no competitor, a battery will be really advantageous. However, as Murat has mentioned, it will be attracting other batteries here, and the marginal profit will be zero at the end. But currently, in terms of these regulations, batteries will not have any motivation, right, based on the current criteria. But according to what we've done this, the biggest reference revenue of battery is its arbitrage, right? Theoretically speaking, compared to other facilities, it has the ability to have arbitrage. So if you want to offer to a market, you should be looking at arbitrage and non-arbitrage profits. Again, let me say you, when there is monopoly, it could have advantages for a while, but after some time, with the availability of other batteries, this advantage will diminish. I'm curious about one thing, or I'd like to extend my opinion about this. Is there anyone saying these words? Okay, okay.
Merhabalar,
Hello,
Tuna Kerman, Nordex
Tuna
Enerji.
Kerman from Nordex
Sıla,
Energy.
sana bir sorum
I have a
olacak.
question to
Karbon
Sıla.
ticaretiyle ilgili
With respect to carbon
yıllardır
trade, for years we've been
yazılarda,
discussing this in
bültenlerde,
conferences and
dergilerde.
panels in many
Fakat
places.
iş ne kadar bilinmiyorsa insanlar da ona girerken imtina ediyorlar ve
However, if you don't know the details of an
en
issue,
son
you
bir
will
karbon
be
ticareti
hesitant, right?
skandalı oldu.
So there was a
Dünyanın en büyük
carbon
firmaları
trade
karbon
scandal,
yakalamada onlarla yapmışlar. Şimdi
and
karıştırıyorum ama
I
hani
don't want to give the name of the company,
sektörünün
in the
en büyük
FMCG sector
otomotiv
and from the
firmalar.
automotive sector, companies
Bunlar da
have made
istihdamlar
big
verdiler.
investments, and they've
Afrika'da ağaç
given big
depolamaları
money.
için ve
Like
karbon
there will be
depolasyon
forestation
için.
in Africa,
Ama
and
tamamen
they are
şov
going to
çıktı.
have their carbon
Dolayısıyla
certification.
şimdi
However, it's
yatırımcılarımızın
turned out to be
özellikle
something
büyükler
empty.
bünyesinde
So
çalışıyorum.
I work in
Bunun
wind
değerlendirmelerini
turbine
yapıyorlar.
production.
Sizin gibi değerli
Investors
uzmanlar var. Nasıl
approaching to
yatırımcılar
us
yani bu
are
yatırım
curious
için
how they
oraya
are going to be
yatırımcıların
ensured that the money
katılımcısı
that they are
işlemlerin
going to
gerçekten
allocate
nasıl yapılmaları gerekiyor?
for
Siz
this
bunu
purpose
yönlendiriyorsunuz.
will be used for this purpose only. Thank you so much. Thank you. For that reason, actually, renewable energy sector should be available in the carbon sector, because in this international arena there are these scandals, right? All these scandals are in the projects where carbon emission decrease has failed to be proven, because forestation is very difficult to track, but 1 MWh equals to this tons, for instance, at this very point, and with this internationally accepted standards, it is the easiest provable carbon decrease projects. But investors should be really careful in what time and what the cost will be at the end of the project, and how the carbon will be sold. This must be paid attention, and also scalability of the economy should be taken into consideration, because small power plants, if they want to be in the carbon market with higher figures, the opposite should be occurring, because it is a bit costly. That's it. Thank you so much. Our last 5 minutes. There's a gentleman who'd like to ask. Okay, this will be the last question, then we're going to adjourn the session. Asım Geren from MSG Group. My question is for everyone on the panel, actually. In the future, what expects our exporters? Whether the process that they're going to use will be green or not? Will there be a tariff or else customs tax, a duty? Well, CBAM mechanism, in the initial phase, emissions to be taken into consideration will be will not be involving electricity consumption, but in the upcoming stages, this consumption will be also involved, and based on the performance of the reports, decision will be taken. But there are some sectors like arc furnaces, steel, iron sector. If electricity drawn from the grid increases, then process emissions automatically will decrease. But this is not something that each and every facility can do, right? But in the initial phase, emissions will be the Scope 1 emissions. It will be from the fuel consumed in the facility. Okay, thank you. Do you have a wish or anything to say for the future? Well, thank you so much for this great organization. Thank you very much for bringing all the stakeholders together. It's been a great event so far. Thank you so much. Yes, we are happy. Thank you. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you so much. PH supported the organization very much. Thank you. Likewise, really, maybe this is the biggest organization of the renewable energy sector. Thank you so much for the successful organization. Thank you so much, our audience, for your patience. Thank you.
Ben de aynı şekilde çok teşekkür ederim. Herkese teşekkürler.
Ben de çok teşekkür ediyorum. Vakit ayırdığınız için.
I'd like to thank you very much. Thank you so much for your patience. This is the centenary of our republic. We would like to celebrate it, congratulate it again. Inshallah, hopefully we will have many more centenaries. And next year we are going to have this organization. Let's see what kind of changes will happen in the future. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And at the end of each and every session, there's going to be the ceremony of flags, and you will have the honor to present the gifts to our guests. Yes, we've had really precious speakers. We'd like to thank them for their attendance. And yes, please, you could approach here. EPH General Manager Ahmet Türkoğlu. Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
Sağ olun. Biraz burada Ahmet
Thank
Bey'e
you.
değinelim. Aksa Elektrik
Aksa
Genel Müdürü Sayın
Electric General
Murat
Manager
Kirazlı.
Murat
Çok
Kirazlı.
değerli katkıları oldu. Bizlere ait.
He has contributed our session very well. Thank you very much.
Smart Pass
Smart Pass CEO Önder Akar.
Ona da teşekkür ediyoruz.
Thank you very much.
Ve
And
Sekans Enerji
Sekans Energy co-founder Sıla Duran.
ayrıca çok
Thank you very much. Thank you.
ve şimdi sürekli yatırımcılardan sorumlu başkan
Now I'd like to invite our Vice President of TÜREP, İskender Kökev.
hareketini takdim edeceklerdir. Bir fotoğraf çekilecek oturumda. Onu unuttuk herhalde.
Well, actually, we were supposed to have a photo together.
Başkanımızı da, TÜREP başkanımızı
Yeah,
da
TÜREP President, maybe you could approach to the scene as well.
hoş geldiniz tekrar.
Once again, welcome, sir.
Hemen bu oturumda bir
Okay, let's have a photo for the session. We're going to have 10 minutes of break, and after that,
6.50 gibi
at 4:50, we will start the next session.
günün son oturumuna
This will be the last session of the day.
EPRA enerji sponsorluğunda yapılacak.
It will be under EPRA Energy sponsorship.
Kapasiteler sonrası şebeke planlaması
Grid plannings and the importance of the plans. 10 minutes later, we will initiate the last session.
odasına gidiyoruz efendim.
Tea coffee break.
üzere. Tekrar bu oturumun moderatörüne, konuşmacılarına çok çok teşekkür ediyoruz. Sağ olun, var olun. Teşekkürler.